All right, and we are live here on this Friday afternoon. Not my usual time to be live on the air, but there is a lot to talk about. There is so much going on in the NFL right now. Trades, Zach Wilson's pro day just concluded. We have a whole lot to talk about. So this is NFL breaking news coverage with Jacob Charnow. Right away, right here, if you guys want to talk about it, we don't have anything lined up. So here's what's going to happen. We are going to send out the link in the chat. So come on, join in the lobby, talk to me about what's going on, because not only is there a lot going on with the draft, there is a lot going on with the Buccaneers as they just signed Leonard Fournette to a low money contract, I think around $2.5 million. I didn't think they were going to be able to get this done. I really didn't. I mean, I didn't think they would be able to get any of these deals done between Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Chris Godwin, any of these, let alone to get playoff Lenny back in the building for next season. The Bucs really are getting the band back together for next season to try and make that run at 17-0 or at another Lombardi trophy for Tom Brady, number 8. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but this is certainly the team that would be able to, if any. Now, though, around the NFL, there is a ton going on here. There's a ton going on. All right. First, ton of trades. San Francisco, the 49ers, they first had pick 12. Then they trade that pick, number 12, with the Dolphins. They move up to number 3, right? So San Francisco gets pick number 3. They now own the third pick in the draft, which the Dolphins used to have, and here's what they gave up. Miami gets pick number 12, a third-round pick, a 2022 first rounder, and a 2023 first rounder. That's an insane amount of capital. And you're not just going to give that up for some random court. You know who you want at number 3, right? You're not trading up. They're not trading up for Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts or Micah Parsons or Penei Sewell. They're not trading up for any of these guys. They're taking a quarterback. And I know John Lynch, their GM, has come out already and he said, we're not trading Jimmy G. Even if they don't trade Jimmy G next season because the cap situation looks awful if they do, you get a guy like Trey Lance in the building who I think they trade up for, and immediately you let him sit behind a guy like Jimmy G who had all that time behind Tom Brady. And now Trey Lance has the abilities and the intangibles to become a really, really good quarterback in this league and a starting quarterback. And I'm very critical of Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think that this is the right move for the Niners. No matter what you have to give up, you get your quarterback in the building because that team is already really solid. They already have all those pieces. They're just coming back. They're getting healthy off all those guys last season who were on IR. This is a really, really good move for the Niners. And we thought, all right, well, Miami, they were 10-6 last year. They still have pick number 18. They get to move to number 12. Then like 10 seconds later, Miami agrees to a trade with the Eagles, where Miami then moves up to pick number 6. The Eagles move down to number 12 and get a future first-round pick. So they get probably one of those ones that San Francisco just gave up. Really good move for the Eagles. They can probably still get a really solid receiver at number 12, and Miami can still move up and get their whoever they were going to take at number 3, whether that is a Kyle Pitts, a Devontae Smith, or possibly even a Jamar Chase, depending on where the Bengals go at number 5. This was Miami. I think right now they have 5 first-round picks over the next 3 years. That's a ridiculous number to have, right? Especially for a team that's already so close to being good. This AFC East is just going to get more and more competitive. And speaking of the AFC East, the Niners are going to have to decide what to do at pick number 3 purely because of what the New York Jets do at number 2. And to anybody who is sitting out there saying that Sam Darnold should be the quarterback of the New York Jets next season and that they should trade the pick and build around him, you should have watched Zach Wilson's pro day that just happened. That ended. It was started around 1 p.m. Eastern, ended around 2. Zach Wilson just lit it up in his pro day, right? I think he ran a 60-play set, and he made all these throws, and all these throws were just, oh my God, they were fantastic, right? He was making throws backing up like 45 yards. This was one of the best pro days I have ever seen. And we hear Zach Wilson talk. They ask him about, you see Joe Douglas is there, Robert Saleh is there, Mike LaFleur is there. So they sent the big 3 to Zach Wilson's pro day, to get a look at him. And I promise you those 3 will be at Justin Fields' pro day, but Justin Fields isn't going to have the same pro day that Zach Wilson just had. Man, he was making every single throw. This kid is a stud, an absolute stud. He's going to be a monster. He has, like I said about Trey Lance, he has all the intangibles. He's fantastic in play action. He can throw on the run. And 95% of players fit in this league is around scheme. If a player fits into your scheme, you'll take him. You want him on your team. Zach Wilson fits perfectly into that Shanahan system. And we heard the Eagles maybe wanted to move up to 3, trade with the Dolphins there. But we heard they only wanted to move up if they could get Zach Wilson. They've clearly, the word around is they're not going to be able to get Zach Wilson because they would have traded up if they thought the Jets might keep Sam Darnold. So I think it's pretty set in stone that, the Jets are taking a quarterback at 2, that they will end up taking Wilson. On top of that, to further that, if you don't think that the Niners came up to the Jets and said, here's that same offer for pick number 2, and the Jets turned down 3 first-round picks so they could stay at 2, it seems like they're pretty comfortable there, right? I mean, next year, think about it. Between that Jamal Adams trade with the Seahawks first rounder, and then if they were to take this trade with San Francisco, they would have 3 first rounders in next year's draft. And I've been saying, everyone knows Joe Douglas absolutely loves his draft picks. So they're extremely comfortable number 2. And actually, special guest here right now to join the stream, one of the most avid Sam Darnold lovers on all the Bucks Report, and I'd love to hear what he has to say. Tampa Bay Ray, coming in right now from all the way to Florida. Ray, what's going on, man? How are you?
Jacob, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
So I'm going to jump right past that whole Sam Darnold comment because, I think it becomes obvious that those Jets hold on to the number 2 pick in case San Fran trades all the way up to 3. So let me ask you this, though. As you started to get set, if Zach Wilson went off the board at 1 to Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, would you guys in New York be happy with Trevor Lawrence coming there at number 2? I'm just hypothesizing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd be happy with Trevor, but the way you look at it, right, the Jaguars didn't even send Urban Meyer to Zach Wilson's pro day. They sent their offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevel. When you look at Trevor Lawrence's pro day, though, they had the entire team there. They had everyone in that front office. So, I mean, Trevor's the pick at 1, but yes, I would be happy with Trevor at 2. But Zach Wilson, man, I don't know if you saw any clips from his pro day and any of these throws he was making, but he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I saw enough tape on that kid to realize, the last great BYU quarterback, going back to Jim McMahon, and I'm trying to think, Steve Young comes out of Brigham Young, and just this kid looks phenomenal. And I can't believe, though, and let me ask you this, of course, I want to talk about, Lombardi, Lenny re-signing with the Bucks for another year, and of course and here's the irony about this, Jacob, is it getting really windy? I apologize, because it's 90 degrees here in Florida, but we've got direct out of the south breezes going here, but of course, earlier in the week we saw the Instagram post, and it's Antonio Brown talking about I'm going to talk to Lenny and get him on the same page, and then Lenny's the first one that signs. So, do you think it's imminent that AB also signs here, or do we still have to wait and see how that's going to play out? Obviously.
Yeah, I think AB ends up re-signing, right? How much? I think you guys have like $3 million left in cap space, somewhere around there, and I think he'll get a very similar deal to what Leonard Fournette got here in Tampa. So I do think AB resigns purely because, we hear Seattle's interested, but I think AB has more to prove. Another year of, no drama and not getting in trouble with anybody before another team ends up taking a chance on him. And he's living with Tom Brady. He's doing all that. I think he does end up staying with Tampa on a cheap deal.
Do you think quarterback actually has a chance of going like 5 in the top 10 picks this year? Is it going to be one of those years where 3 or 4 years down the road, they're going to look back and say, well, we missed here and here. What happened? Why did we get so quarterback crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I had last Tuesday, I did my show with Andrew Forbert. We did our mock draft, and he had 5 quarterbacks getting taken in the top 10. I think there's even more of a chance of it happening now, right? Trevor Lawrence to 1, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields could all be in the top. Those could be the top 4 picks already. And then you look at a team like the Lions, like the Panthers, who could all also take a quarterback, not to mention any team who wants to now trade up, because this is now a possibility based on all the trades that we've been seeing in the last, in the last hour, right? There's a chance that 5 quarterbacks get taken in the top 10 this year, and then none the rest of the first round, which would be crazy and unheard of in the NFL the last however many years.
I mentioned to Johnny Dean this in Messenger, of course, when all this is breaking down, and JD is the professor is telling me all about it, like he does all of us, so he's breaking it down. At some point, we all get some breaking news from that cat, and I'm like, could anybody, NFL fans, anybody have woken up this morning and foresaw the fact that you'd have, I've never in my lifetime, except on draft day, never have I seen just for some reason spontaneously 1 month out of the draft, and all of a sudden you have this type of movement in one day. It's crazy how the dominoes start falling into place. And even though the Bucs pick at number 32, and we've got Lombardi number 2 over there in a trophy case at $1 place. Even this is even while the rest of the year focused on us during the pandemic. Now that we're getting to a better place in 2021, and we got the trophy going for 2, this is actually something that Bucs fans can sit back and actually enjoy, because this is exciting as if you're a football fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me ask you about this, right? Miami has been active all day so far, right? They traded out of number 3, moved down to 12. They moved back up to number 6 with the Eagles. Miami's in a really, really good spot right now, right? They can get the same guy that they were getting at number 3, probably at number 6, right? Whether that is Devontae Smith, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, whoever you want, literally whoever you want there. And when you think about Miami going into next season, do you think that based on this year's draft, they'll be able to be competitors in the AFC next year?
I mean, why? But the Patriots, of course, the movement with the quarterback for the. I mean, maybe you covered this already, my friend. So if I'm just double back, excuse me on this. But with Frisco making a move to go up to number 3, Garoppolo's obviously out of the picture there in San Fran, unless he totally buys into being a mentor for 1 year. I don't think they're going to take $25 million flyer on just having a guy that can play mentor. And now look at possibly a Garoppolo going back to the Patriots, because the Patriots, that deal they signed with Cam was so incentive laden that it's basically just a $5 million contract to be a backup quarterback, and then you can get up to 14 if you get these incentives. So the AFC East next year, Buffalo being an improving team, and then the Jets, because I got love for the Jets. It's going to be one of the most exciting divisions. Well, we'll say one of the most exciting divisions on the Eastern Seaboard. But for me, it's right behind the NFC South.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there and you're the Patriots, right, at number 15, and you're not going to be able to get a quarterback, a guy like, a Mac Jones or whoever, what are you willing to give up to the Niners to get Jimmy G back in the building if you're Bill Belichick?
Well, here's the thing, like I said, the 49ers, John Lynch, he's a good general manager. And of course, John Lynch goes into the Hall of Fame this year as a Buccaneer, and we're so excited for that to be happening here in Canton here in a couple of months. But I think that the 49ers, for all the decisions and the smart things that John Lynch is doing, I just don't see the 49ers taking a $25 million flyer on them. They're going to throw it out there, but I don't think that because New England realizes they're probably going to have to release him at some point before they have to bite that entire contract. So maybe it's like knowing Bill Belichick, and the Patriots, the way they work, it ends up being like a 5th round compensatory that can maybe go up to 3 if he's got, like, if he hits incentive, like they make the playoffs or something like playoffs. But I definitely don't see New England giving up anything of really major. Of course, if you're Jason Light as your general manager, then are any draft picks possible? Any draft pick can be a big draft pick. Just see Ali Marpet, just see Alex Kappa, just see all the things this guy's done. I got to work it back to the Bucs, Jacob. I always do.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the Bucs, right? We're hearing in the news a little bit. There's a little buzz around the league about Larry Fitzgerald maybe coming down to Tampa. How would you like to see Larry Fitzgerald come down to Tampa to make that second Super Bowl run with the Bucs?
I talked about this last night, Jacob. I had a little Thursday pop-up cup of Ray, and I talked to the guys about that. And I think that this guy's still got some tread on those tires. He's such an accomplished athlete and such a Hall of Fame receiver. But I think that any kind of stuff like that gets in the building and gives the players warm and fuzzies. We know in 2020, Tom Brady being there made them run, made the young guys and the rookies, even the veterans, like a Donovan Smith, run the extra gassers, put in the extra practice, take the extra reps. And if having a Larry Fitzgerald in that receiving room, with the guys and with the rest of the team, and they realize it's not, I don't want to call it a burden. Because, of course, if you end up coming up short, you take a moonshot and it doesn't come through, then maybe you can call it a burden. But to be honest with you, I don't think of it as a burden. But to have that guy in a room, if it makes those guys feel a little bit more like they want to do an extra rep again, it just gets rid of that Super Bowl hangover redundancy. And that usually seems to be the biggest reason for Super Bowl hangovers, is because they just played till February, almost March. Now we're going to turn around and start ripping it up with OTAs and rookie mini camps here in April. But I think that this kind of stuff, that you bring a Larry Fitzgerald into that Buccaneer or over at the Advent Health training facility, it does nothing but make guys want to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And Larry Fitzgerald is a culture changer, right? We
Oh,
see, I mean, the Cardinals bringing in AJ Green and JJ Watt already, and then to have Larry Fitzgerald, if they can keep him in Arizona, would be, I mean, the culture in that locker room would be something else. But to bring him down to Tampa, already with Tom Brady there, already with Gronk and JPP and all these veterans there already, even Mike Evans, right? I think it would be real. I think it would be a really cool thing to watch, right? Don't you agree?
And it would so much, Jacob, but I also know that Larry Fitzgerald's got deep, deep roots there in Arizona. I know he feels like he wants to be a Cardinal for life and retire. He doesn't. He's so resolute in the way he feels. I don't even know which camera I'm looking at, but he's so resolute in the way he feels. I know he doesn't want to be one of those guys that signs a one-day contract to retire, even if it means. And let's be honest, guys. I know. Being a Buccaneer fan all my life and for the last 18 years since 2003, every year I go in looking for a reason to have optimism to why this team can win the Lombardi this year. But J.J. Watt, Kyler Murray, the pieces they put in place. With Keith, not Cliff Kingsbury, who's their coach over there?
Yeah,
Cliff Kingsbury. They're putting some pieces in place. Of course, the NFC West is a lot tougher of division, but some would argue that maybe if you're talking divisions, maybe coming into the NFC South, and it's not just because the Buccaneers are the best team in football right now and continue to be, but maybe the NFC South's going through more of a building process, so maybe he would have a better shot at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get through some of these comments real quick. Misador says Zach Wilson will be the best quarterback in this draft. It's hard to disagree with you, but it all depends on where people land and how these teams work to build around these quarterbacks that they're drafting. Ben says, I heard it's AB or Fitzgerald now. It could be both of them, honestly. We just talked about it. Brady wants AB, as he should. Enough. Bucks just need depth at certain positions. They already have the same key players coming back, and that's true, right? The Bucks are the only team in the draft this year that they could really draft the best player available, no matter what the position is, right? I mean, they really don't have a lot of holes. I mean, maybe they could bring in terms of free agency, a veteran corner, but other than that, you take the best guy available at 32.
What a luxury to have. Greg Allman of The Athletic had a great mailbag today, and I love reading this stuff almost as much as I love reading Bucks Report stuff. But he's talking about how much of a luxury. Of course, any team that puts a Lombardi in their trophy case that next draft is mostly drafting for luxury. But definitely, the Bucks in 2021 have the most. Probably in team history, even going back to 2003. Of course, we give up 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s and $8 million to get John Gruden. So we don't even have a first-round draft pick that following year. This year, we're 100% going for draft and going for depth.
Yes, 110%. Russ says, is Uncle Rico still a free agent? You tell me. Smilegate says, what up, Jacob? What's going on, man? Is this about the Bucks or other teams? Let's talk about AB. Did the Bucks sign AB? This is not only about the Bucks. This is about, I mean, it's in the title here. As we said, the caption literally says NFL. We're covering all around the NFL right now. There's a lot going on. But we did cover Antonio Brown in this whole situation, and they did not sign him yet. But I expect that to happen probably over the weekend, honestly. Tim says they were just talking on Good Morning Football about the fact that the first 5 picks in the draft could be quarterbacks. If the Bengals decide to move out of pick number 5, I could absolutely see that happening. Miami's coming hard at knocking the Jets out of 3rd place in the division. Really, it's coming at my Jets every single week.
You know what? Giants fans hate the Jets, but the Giants. I think the Jets are. I'm so excited about Mekhi Becton. I'm so excited about. I love Saleh as a coach. I think he's a defensive wizard. I've always been a Buccaneers defensive-minded coach. I love the teams that are built like that. And, of course, the Buccaneers in 2020, we have the best of both worlds. We have the no-risk-it, no-biscuit Byron Leftwich on the OC side. And, of course, we have the phenomenal Todd Bowles, which, by the way, ironically, is also a former Jets head coach.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Matthew says, yo, what's up, Matthew? Misador says, if Fitz comes to Tampa, he's going to be the wide receiver coach the following year. Possibly. Truly think the Bucks trade back in the late 50s, early 60s. They could absolutely trade that number 32 pick. And it's not going to be because of a team wanting to trade up for a quarterback if they slip. It's going to be this receiver group in this year's draft. It is so deep and so good. There's so many solid players all the way from the beginning to the end of the first round and beyond into the 2nd and 3rd round. And this is the year where we're going to see these 3rd round receivers pop up out of nowhere and be Pro Bowl guys, because it truly is that deep of a receiver class. So if a team wants to jump ahead of the Jaguars at pick 33 or the Jets at pick 34, both of whom could absolutely take a wide receiver, and they could use that Bucks pick at 32.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say also the draft's also deep in secondary this year. And the irony is of course, again, in 2020 with the everything going on with COVID-19 and such. So many college programs and divisions were in such disarray with the teams not getting even the teams playing for the national championship that only played 5 or 6 or 8 games depending on if they had COVID. And you're talking about, so it's probably in the history of college football, at least in the last maybe 70 years, it's the least amount of tape you can have on these specialists. But the secondary is deep, the wide receivers are uber deep, and of course now you're talking about quarterbacks that are deep. So by the time the Bucs, what if you're talking, and they're not even talking about edge rushers or defensive or linebackers or defensive linemen. So the Bucs sitting there at number 32, they might be looking at a guy who they had on their board in the top 10 or 15 that somehow falls to 32 because everyone else is scrambling to get one of these other specialty positions.
110%. Let's get through some of these comments, Ray, then I'm going to let you get out of here. We're not live that long today, so that I'm going to get JCA in here afterward, and we're going to wrap it up. Tim says, saw a headline today that said, we're not the first Super Bowl team since 79 to bring back the entire starting roster in the following season. Mr. says, only other team to do it was the 77 Raiders. Autocorrect got him. AV next, and definitely going for 2 and more. Got me again. We're the first team to do it since then. Bring them all back anyway. Ray, it's Friday afternoon. I'm going to let you get out of here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. But go ahead, promote yourself. Tell us where we can find you all over the place.
Jacob, it's always an honor to talk to you, brother. You're one of the most knowledgeable cats I know, and thanks for having me on here. Just follow me I'll be on Sunday for Cup of Ray. I might pop up in the meantime between now and then when there's even more better news to sign. Of course, on Wednesday nights, you can find me on the Over-Under, Mr. Harry the Greek. But anytime I can get on, I'm on there. But thanks for having me, brother, and have a great day. And thanks for doing this. The Bucs Report's there to cover the Bucs for you all in 2021. And we're also there to cover the NFL because by association, the Buccaneers being the best team in the NFL, we got to keep our eyes on the rest of the pack.
Exactly. All right, Ray. I'll talk to you later, man. See ya.
Take care, brother.
Peace. And now let's bring in Joshua Cole Allen in here, live and in person. And let's right away, let's talk about it. When is the Audible coming back? Because I know it's coming back soon, and I'm excited for it.
It's coming back very soon. I'm just working on. I know I've been saying it for like a month now, but just working on some last minute twitches. It's gonna be back soon, within the next 2 weeks. I know I've said that like 3 times so far, but it's coming back soon. I got to make sure I'm giving you guys the quality content that you deserve. I don't want to rush it back, but it's coming, and I'm gonna need you, Jacob.
I'll be there.
I need you on there. Hopefully every Thursday you can come on and pop on for a minute and give us that groundbreaking NFL rundown that you do here, and be my halftime guy and break up my show with a 10-15 minute halftime segment. I would love that if you're around.
Yeah, for sure. Just let me know, and we'll figure that all out. But let's talk about some of the news from today. We'll start with the Bucs. Leonard Fournette resigns. We just had this conversation, I think, probably 2 days ago about whether or not Leonard Fournette would resign. I didn't think he would. You're more in the rings with the Bucs than I am. So, and you were absolutely correct here. Go ahead, talk about this Leonard Fournette signing and what that means for the team going forward.
It's big, and I thought if Leonard Fournette was going to come back, it's because the market wasn't there, and that they would dictate only a 1-year deal was available. And if you're going to take a 1-year deal, what are you doing? You might as well come back to Tampa Bay. They know they wanted you back. Tom Brady's been campaigning and lobbying for everyone to come back. Let's all come back. Let's bring it back. Let's go for 2, because we don't say the R word around here. We're not the Chiefs. We're going to actually complete the mission this time. But and that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. You saw James White went back to the Patriots, and then the market obviously wasn't there for Leonard Fournette. I'm sure he's hoping next year, when the cap is a lot higher, potentially have another ring on his finger, then there'll be more suitors, and there will be a lot more dollars thrown his way. But where he was probably only being offered a 1-year deal, doesn't make any sense to go anywhere else but to come back to Tampa Bay. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, for sure. I think maybe next year, depending on how he does, depending on the amount of workload he gets and what his numbers look like, I think another team could definitely give him a longer term contract. I would think, once again, this running back market changes year to year based on injuries and everything. And because, running backs get injured. It's the most replaceable position on the football field. You see these guys going in and out and in and out. And, the other running backs in this Bucs group, right? We talked about it. There's a chance Rojo might not be on the team heading into September, only because of, maybe they draft a running back. I know we all like Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. He's an absolute tank. Javonte Williams out of UNC is a guy I know that we both like.
Yeah, and I've been talking with Javonte Williams and Michael Carter from UNC today. And the guy who I did talk to today was Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech, and he said that he spoke with the Bucs already. So they are doing their due diligence, along with the Demetric Felton, who already confirmed that he has spoken with the Buccaneers too. So the Buccaneers are definitely talking to running backs, especially with both of these guys on one-year deals, just because they have a loaded backfield right now with a Rojo, with a Fournette, with a Keyshawn Bond. Don't rule out a running back by any means for this team, especially early in the draft.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move around the NFL a little bit because we talk about it all show. Man, there's a lot going on. It all happened. I put my phone down for like 5 minutes.
Miami out there. Hot.
I picked it up every
in Tampa. How hot is it in Miami?
Oh my. All right. So San Francisco trades with the Dolphins, right? San Francisco moves up to pick 3. They give up pick number 12, a third rounder, a 2022 first rounder, and a 2023 first rounder. San Francisco's not moving up for a receiver. They're not moving up for an offense. They're moving up for a quarterback. I mean, and then on top of that, Miami moves to 12. And then maybe 30 seconds later, we get another notification from Mr. Ian Rappaport that Miami trades with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles move back to 12. Miami moves back up to 6, and they can get whoever they were going to get at 3 at pick number 6. And Potentially, unless they wanted Jamar Chase, which, yeah.
This still potentially could happen because if the 49ers take a quarterback, the Jets take a quarterback, the Falcons take a quarterback, you have to think that it'd be crazy for the Bengals to pass on Sewell, and they still land Jamar Chase at number 6.
I hate being in this division with the Dolphins. It's
and then they had an extra first-round pick and an extra third-round pick next year, so it's crazy.
Yeah, and this all happened while Zach Wilson was doing his pro day.
San Francisco was like, get us up there. What else do we have to give the Jets to get Zach Wilson?
But the most interesting thing that is what we heard about the Eagles, where they wanted to move up to 3, but only if they could get Zach Wilson. And Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas, they were all in Philadelphia together. They know Joe Douglas. They know what he wants in a quarterback. They know what he's going to do. You can't help but think the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson, especially after his workout today, right? I mean, Sam Darnold he's a goner. He's a goner. But what team even is going to take him at this point? Because the Niners were a team. The only 2 teams I can think of are Denver and Washington.
Are the
only teams I can see taking a shot on Sam Darnold, right?
Absolutely. I mean, those 2 are the only ones that really kind of make sense, unless the Jets want to trade him within the division and maybe the Patriots get involved. Because the Patriots were a team that I thought might trade up for a quarterback too. But now that you have this scenario and you saw what it costs, I don't think the Patriots would have wanted to pay that much to get that high, but you saw what it costs, and I don't think they're going to give up that capital. But that's something I thought maybe they make a move up, and they settle for Mac Jones. But I didn't think that's the direction the Patriots have wanted to take, especially with the quarterbacks that they've drafted in the past and bringing in Cam Newton. They're not pocket passes. They're not Tom Brady. They're the guys that they have drafted to back up Tom Brady have all been able to move. Brissett, Stidham, Garoppolo. They can make moves outside of the pocket. Cam Newton is obviously a different level, but Mac Jones falls into that more Tom Brady-esque role, pocket passer, stick in the pocket, doesn't really roll out, doesn't really make throws on the run. I don't know what they're going to do now.
Yeah, and I see Misador mentioned it in the comments briefly. I don't think the Niners moved up for Justin Fields. I think they moved up. I think they're going to snag Trey Lance at 3. I think he fits that offense better.
Yeah.
And I think, Justin Fields could end up actually falling to a team like the Panthers, depending on what happens. But I've heard that Falcons pick might be for sale at number 4. I can see the Panthers there. And oh man, I mean, between the Panthers and the Patriots, I could still see one of them moving up to number 4 just to see who's left at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots might trade up to the thing about the Patriots is what they did in this offseason has allowed them flexibility with their this year and next year's draft pick. Now, do they want to give up 3 first rounds? I don't think so. We just saw that was the cost, 3 first rounds and a third to move up to the number 3 spot. You take the third off maybe, and it's still 3 first round picks. And I don't know if that's something the Patriots want to do, unless they're moving a player as part of the package. Maybe a guy like Shaq Mason and 2 first round picks. I don't know. It's a crapshoot now. I think that the Eagles are definitely going to go cornerback. They're taking either Surtain or Faley, whoever's there. But I don't know. I don't know what anyone else is. It's all
you
shaken up right now. It's like, what's going on? Like you had kind of an idea, but now it's like
Yeah, and it really is. In fact, and the Jets, with the Jets briefly about, who they're going to take at number 2, I'm sure the Niners called up Joe Douglas and said, hey, here's that same offer. I feel like, Joe Douglas, if the Jets took that offer they have 3 first-round picks next year, right, in 2022, between the Seattle one, and it would have been that one, and then their own. We know Joe Douglas loves his draft picks. He's comfortable at number 2. He knows who he's taking. He knows who he wants. He has everyone else in the draft besides Trevor Lawrence to take, and I think they're more than okay with that to get Zach Wilson in the building, especially with what we heard. They asked Zach Wilson about it afterward, and they talked to him whether or not he talked to the Jets, what he thought about getting drafted to the Jets. He said he loves Joe Douglas. He thinks he's a great guy. He loves what Salah's doing over here so far. You have to think, all right, we've heard stories about GMs tell these draft guys, like, if you're there, we're taking you, right?
The only scenario I can see the Jets moving at all is the 4. To say, you know what, we don't necessarily need to take Zach Wilson. We just need one of these guys, and we're not moving all the way back to 12 because we need one of these quarterbacks. So if the Falcons are like, hey, we want to take Zach Wilson, we'll move up there and give you the same package or a similar package that the 49ers or Miami just got from the 49ers. That's a situation they might make because they'll either get Trey Lance or Justin Fields. And maybe they're happy with either of those guys. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're dead set on Zach Wilson. But if they're open to any of those 3 right now, if Atlanta calls, they'll listen to that call.
Also, out of those
anyone else, I don't think they listen.
Yeah, out of those 3 also, but I do think Zach Wilson is the most NFL ready week 1. I think that he's the only one who could really get thrown into that system and immediately succeed, possibly. We see a lot of mechanical problems with Justin Fields. Trey Lance just really doesn't have the experience within games that I'm comfortable throwing him out there week 1 yet to get eaten up by these NFL defenses, because we see it year after year. At least one of these NFL quarterbacks gets torn apart because they're not ready to go in yet, right? I think we saw with Tua last year more than anything.
Unless San Francisco says, hey, we'll give you our 2nd-round pick this year and, our 4th-round pick this year, because that's all they have left. They don't have a 3rd. They have a 2nd. They have a 4th. And they have number 3. So their 3rd round next year that they're getting for Saleh is going to Miami. And I don't think they have it. Did they get a comp 3rd round this year?
For Salah or for? Yeah. I think
Salah.
they did. I think they did.
Okay, so they have their 3rd round comp this year. They have their 4th and they have their 2nd plus number 3. Maybe they say, hey, we'll give you all this. We want our quarterback. And they move up to 2 to get Zach Wilson. But it all depends. The draft has always started with the Jets. And today's moves didn't change. Right. The Jets start this draft with whoever they take, because some people still have them taking Penny. And I don't see that because you just drafted Mekhi Becton. He's not a right tackle, and Penny's not a right tackle either. So you're drafting 2 left tackles and say, here, one of you play out of position or one of you kick inside. And now that doesn't make sense to me.
And when
they need line help, but
and when we're talking about, oh, well, maybe the Jets trade down or whatever, because look at what they could get for Zach Wilson. Guess what? There's a reason why you're going to get that much for Zach Wilson. And the Jets haven't had a real franchise quarterback in, I can't even remember how long.
Chad Pennington.
But if you can even get, and
he's not a real franchise quarterback.
No, but if people are willing to trade up and give up that much for Zach Wilson, you take him at 2. And I understand people are like, oh, well, he hasn't played a single snap yet. We can't say anything about Zach Wilson. Guess what? We've seen Sam Darnold play 3 seasons in the NFL so far. He has been atrocious. And I understand that something for him, but
you can't do that to Sam Darnold all the way him. You can't do that all the way. And I know you're a Jets fan, but
he definitely hasn't shown me anything that would want me to keep him over Zach Wilson at this point. Yeah, exactly. PC and Ghost.
You got Gaze as his coach. He had, he just hasn't had weapons or an offensive line around him. I think he still has talent. If I'm a team, I'm not saying, well, Sam Darnold's a bust. I'm saying let's get him into our building and let's see what we can do with him. Let's see if surrounding him with good talent and offensive line, he can play better. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so.
If I'm the Jets, I'm moving on. You got a new regime, new coach, new everything. Yeah. You got to move on. And at first I thought that Saleh might be the guy who's a defensive coach and say, hey, let's trade back. Let's get something for 2, grab one of these players and then move on. We have a bunch of holes on defense, bunch of holes on offense. But the more and more I look at it, the more I just don't see them passing on Zach Wilson at all. I just think that
if they do keep Sam Darnold and they take Sewell and whatever. It just still kind of feels like that 6-10 team that they are every single year, and it doesn't feel like and keeping
at least
Darnold
it gives you hope.
right. But drafting Zach Wilson there, bringing in the new regime, like you said, adding to this defense, adding Corey Davis. Joe Douglas has all this cap space, all these draft picks for the next few years.
Oh.
This feels like a team that could definitely turn it around, and it feels like a new culture there versus what it has been the last 2 decades.
So we got a Schefter bomb. According to Schefter, the 49ers have been discussing trading up with the Dolphins at 3, Falcons at 4, Bengals at 5, and ultimately decided to go as high as they could. Per sources, there were no trade-up talks with the Jets at 2. So what that tells you is they don't think that they're getting Zach Wilson. It's for either Trey Lance or Justin Fields.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can't see the Jets moving out of 2. I mean, I really just can't see it happening. But yeah, there's just a lot going on. I appreciate you coming in here. Go ahead. Once again, tell us where we can find you, where we can find your stuff, because you are all over the place right now.
Yeah. So find me on Twitter at Joshua_C_Allen. That's where I'm the most active. You can follow me on BucksReport.com. I've got a bunch of articles out. I've got more coming out. I've got another one. I'm in these pro days. Look for that tweet later on today. Once these pro days wrap up, on a list of players who have already previously met or are going to meet with the Buccaneers, kind of give you an insight on what they're looking at, who they might be targeting, and just see who they're considering at taking with that number 32 pick in later rounds in the draft. Also, the Audible is coming back very soon. I'll have a definite date for you guys within the next week. So I know I said this week and last week and that this upcoming week, but I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the best show possibly. I'm still throwing some really cool features together, really good guests on here, some current players, local media, a little bit of Prodigy might be on there too. I'm just excited to get back in there. Got a lot of things going on. Press conferences happening. Leonard Fournette re-signed. I think Antonio Brown is next. Look for that to happen sometime this weekend. I'm doing a little more digging, but I think he'll be back in the fold probably by the end of the weekend. Yeah, for sure. All right, Joshua, I'm gonna let you out of here. I'll talk to you soon, man. Later. Peace, brother. And yeah, be sure to go check out Joshua everywhere. Go check out Tampa Bay Ray everywhere. And we're now going to wrap today from whatever this was. This was just a random live that I went on, and I'm really happy I did because we got to talk with some great guests. But as always, be sure to go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charnow, Instagram at Hard Count Football. Check out the Hard Count Football podcast live every single Tuesday night right here at 7 p.m. Eastern on Bucks Report. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. There is so much going on in the NFL. Enjoy your Friday and have